Welcome to our Sunday Talks. My name is Bevan, and it is so good to have you connected with us. This month, we're focusing on healthy relationships because they are vital for every single one of us. Relationships are involved in every aspect of our life, and we genuinely want to see relationships healthy and flourishing. Before we get into today's conversation, I just wanted to let you know about something new that is starting tonight, if you're watching this on Sunday. And we're going to be hosting a live Q&A session. We're calling it Let's Go There. We want to have honest and frank conversations about topics that you are interested in, about the questions that you and your friends are asking. So make sure that you are following Co-Church on Instagram and Facebook. The Instagram handle will come up on the screen, but it is @co.church, and the Facebook account is @co.church.community. So make sure you jump on, connect, like, and then be involved in the conversation. So back to today's talk. We had the opportunity to chat with some of our closest friends. Jamie and Janie Coyle are the campus pastors of Hillsong Church, based in the northern part of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, in a beautiful part of the world, which we used to live in for a number of years, called Noosa. Jamie and Jane are just a phenomenal couple. They are incredible leaders, parents, have a beautiful marriage, not perfect by any means, but they share lessons and insights from their journey, which honestly, I've learned so much from personally, and I know will make a huge impact with you as well. So, up next is a conversation about healthy relationships with Jamie and Janie Coyle.
Jamie and Jane, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We love seeing you guys. I've already mentioned to everyone who you are and how much we love you, but we just wanted to say thank you. And I'm sure Co-Church is going to be stoked to be hearing from you. So, welcome.
It's super special to be able to do this. Love you guys.
And we are stoked because we love Co-Church and we watch every bit of the journey you guys have been on, and so we feel honoured to be a part of it. So thank you for having us.
And we love the church that you pastor as well, just by the way.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, look, we both love each other's churches, which is a win.
It would suck if we didn't, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we are talking about healthy relationships. First question that I want to ask you guys is, how would you define a healthy relationship?
Great question. Jamie's whacking my leg, so I'm guessing he wants me to answer it. I would think the things that jump to my mind initially is great communication, which is an obvious one, but also alongside great communication, the thing I think for us is the most important thing has been actually epic understanding of each other. So self-awareness, just understanding actually what each other, but our own gifts, abilities, personalities, strengths, previous wounds, family history, all of that stuff that comes into being self-aware, I think has been actually so massive in helping our relationship be healthy. And I think, and I'm not saying that you have to have that kind of self-awareness before you even start marriage, because that's not a reality. It's sort of a journey that you unpackage, over time. It's what life is. But I think it's that being willing to learn and become self-aware, that is what makes a relationship healthy, whether it be marriage or friendship. Yeah.
And Bev, I think when I think health, the whole thing I kept thinking about was whole. A whole relationship, not like, because healthy can mean many different things. Healthy physically, healthy mentally, healthy emotionally, healthy spiritually. I go, what's wholeness look like? It's understanding that a relationship is not just about one part, but about many parts, and therefore being willing to explore the many parts rather than just go, there's just one thing.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So I want to ask you, before we get into the marriage aspect of relationships, we would consider you guys to be some of our closest friends. So you are easy to be friends with. What do you think makes for a good friend or a great friendship?
This is great, because we would say you guys are some of our best mates. And so for us, Janie and I went away on our 20-year anniversary a couple of weeks ago, and we actually had this similar conversation, Bev. So great question, man. And I guess we would define it in a couple of levels. Many different relationships come in many different forms. Sometimes you have a relationship that hits one element that is great for you. But then sometimes you have relationships that feel like it does the whole thing in a package. So you might have a mate that just you get along well with for sporting purposes, and it's great. You laugh and that's it, but you never go deep. Or you have one friend that you just go crazy deep with, but you never laugh with. But then what I think makes a wonderful relationship is when you can cover all things, when you can have vulnerability, where you can have ridiculous laughter, and where also you can, I think, be real. I said vulnerability, but I guess a sense of realness, laughter, and depth in spirituality matters to us. And so that's what you guys have been for us. I feel like before we hit the record button on this, we were laughing like wild, like crazy. But then at the same time, we can instantly ask each other, how you're really doing, and I feel safe being able to tell you guys how I'm really doing. And then at the same time, Bev will message me a message encouraging me in my faith, or likewise, and it feels like it covers for all three areas.
I think we were laughing because I am ridiculously funny.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it makes it easy. And you guys are probably the easiest couple to make laugh. So it makes me feel good. And then I just keep being funny. So it's this beautiful cycle of what friendship actually is.
Yeah.
Just having one person that thinks they're the funniest. It's important.
No, exactly.
No.
I think Jane said it earlier. You got to understand each other, and I'm just hilariously funny, and you guys love laughing. So
And we understand that.
And we also understand arrogance. So that's just where we move.
Understanding is great for a friendship.
Yeah.
No, guys, seriously, that first time we all sat around the dinner table, at the end of that night, he was like, oh my gosh, Janie is the best person to crack a joke at. She just laughs at everything. And that's how we became friends, laughing.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that you've been married for 20 years. Congratulations. That's an incredible milestone. What did you see in the other person that caused you to think, okay, I could marry this person?
So I remember it was actually very early on, even after we met, like within even just a few weeks, where we both had those thoughts of, could marry this person. And I honestly think it was that kindred connection spiritually that was the major game changer. James, for me, was incredibly strong. So he had this strength about him, and he was a leader, and I loved that. He was good looking, so I was attracted to him.
Probably really important.
But then, honestly, the biggest thing was just passionately, wildly in love with Jesus. And he led so powerfully, even from that place, from the minute we met, all these conversations, what he's reading, what he's learning. I'm just like, yes, I could do my whole life together with this guy, just following Jesus wherever he leads us. That was honestly the game changer for me.
But I remember for me, it was we were in that place. I'd kind of come back to Jesus probably about a year before we met. And I remember just feeling like, God, I just want a woman that's wildly in love with you, and I can have a lot of fun with, and is always willing to pursue the adventure. And I remember when I met Janie, we both were listening to this artist called Keith Green, which is like an old school 70s music, but we both identified at that point with that music. Didn't we? Remember that?
Oh yeah, and Max Lucado.
I wasn't into Max Lucado. You were into Max Lucado.
Loved Max Lucado.
That was the only reason I got a date with us, because I pretended I liked Max Lucado.
I said, let's go to a park and read Max Lucado book together. No wonder they called him a savior.
And we never read that book, and I still haven't read that
Who
book.
does that?
But you guys were young.
Yeah, we were young.
Yeah.
So, Janie, how are you? You were 20.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was 21.
I really want to ask about your kids, because you have epic kids and you do family life really well. And part of the reason that we had to speak to you at this time was because, Jane, you are going to be taking Sarah to youth. So how do you juggle 4 kids that are all different ages with, you live in Australia, and so you are managing your own household, and you're managing the kids, and you're working, and you've been studying, and so you actually do have a lot on your plate. So how do you prioritize? How do you keep the kids important?
Yeah. Great question. And one that I think we're still figuring out and changes every year because of the age of the kids too.
Yeah.
How old are the kids? Just for everybody listening, tell us
Yeah.
the kids and the ages.
Well, Ezra's 17 and Sarah is 15 and May is 12 and Sunny is 9. So it's 2 kids and 2 teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And really right from the start of having Ez, so 17 years ago, we did make a very intentional decision that they were going to be our priority. And that was just right from right from the beginning. And every year we would come back to that place at the start of the year, even as I processed how I was going to do my time that year, how I was going to, what my week would look like. I came back to that same conviction. Just for our family, the kids were at the top. And that I think the kids and Jane, that family dynamic was the top priority. So it's just been an unraveling of how to make that work as they go into each season, because obviously within each season it looks different for us as a family. So when they were at home, my life looked different because they were at home. So life became about parks and playgroups and libraries and all of that fun stuff, and neighbours, and then as they moved into school, again, it was a season shift, and I started uni and working, and just everything looked different again. And that's then just kept sort of unraveling every year into this season now, where their life is so much busier at night times. Ezra's working, they've got a lot of sports stuff going on. So it just is a whole new season again, hey. And I think we've just, again, every year we go through that, okay, for each one of them, what's a priority now for them? And then we just make that work into our week. So you mentioned youth is a Friday night. So that's a priority, not just for Ezra and Sarah, but for us. It's a massive one because of the space that, they're in when they're at youth. So even when it's annoying and we don't want to go out on a rainy Friday night and it take up hours of our time in that, you just switch your thinking to, this isn't about me, this is about them, and this is a big deal for them.
I think I've always believed when it comes to healthy relationships, health and parenting, they're the priority 100%. But then working out how you do that life together, and not just see them as an individual doing their individual thing, but recognising part of their discipleship or part of their part is recognising they need to learn to be flexible with everyone else as well. And therefore going, we aren't now your servants to do your life. Now you're joining with our life, and now we're all going to work out what life looks like together. And I think that's been the key part is always playing those cards. And that's where Janie said it's like always a constant balance of, for Ezra's priorities changed, Sarah's priorities have changed, and Sunny, May, and then we have changed. So therefore going, okay, what does that look like as a full family unit, us doing life together? So yeah, it's constantly this metamorphic kind of
and quite structured. Our week just is structured, even though naturally we're probably not super structured people. We're more go with the flow, see how things roll. As they've got older and they're busier and our life looks different too, it's just a very structured week, as in we know what's happening each day, at night time, in the afternoons. And that just means our time gets just spent intentionally and deliberately, for what we value. So Monday nights, we're very, that's family night. Friends don't come over that night, or girlfriend doesn't come over for dinner that night. We're just there's boundaries around that. They know that because we value family time. So that's just a priority, you know.
I would love to hear what you value and prioritize.
Nearly a year ago now, we were having massive issues, like where the kids were fighting all the time. It felt like everything was a scramble. And I remember John and I one night sitting there going, what are we going to do? And it kind of made sense all of a sudden to go, you know what, I think we actually need to define what we are as a family are about and write it on their fridge so every one of us know that. So when it comes to conflict, when it comes to decisions, we go, hey, how does this fit? And so the next week we got together as a family and we're like, what are they? And we broke it down into things that we value as a family. We choose kindness, basically.
We value generosity. We value truth. We value extravagantly love each other. We quick to forgive. Like basic principles like that we wrote down on the fridge. So whenever stuff's going on within the family, we go, hey, how does that suit the things on our fridge wall? But then when it comes to like the basics of structure, we value quality time together. So a Monday is the day as a family that is a no-go zone. But then we also value spirituality. So therefore, for Ezra now, as he's turned 17, it's different to how we deal with that with our kids who are 9 and 12. So for Ez, for example, him and I, on a Wednesday night and a Thursday night, for 20 minutes, have him and I time where we specifically talk about the things of God. And it's deliberate. And you might go, wow, why don't you just do that naturally? Which it does happen naturally, but there's also moments where I want him to learn that there's moments where you need to be deliberate.
Yeah.
And so where we read the Bible together and we talk about what's going on, how that relates. Where then there's the physical side where we value them doing sport. We value them being in the community and serving. So we set up certain things in order for them to be a part of those.
Honestly, we would say that you guys would be one of the couples that we would absolutely admire when it comes to your parenting and your family. We just love everything about who your family is. Your kids are incredible, obviously good friends with our kids, but that doesn't just happen by accident. And I think the way that you guys have parented has made a significant impact in your kids.
Yeah.
We live here in a nation in South Africa where it is very obvious that there is broken family right across the nation. And evidence would suggest that because of that brokenness within the family, that translates into a brokenness into a nation. And so having healthy family, having healthy relational dynamics is incredible. James, I want to ask you about being a father. I know how much both of you honor your dads, your family. And I want to maybe get a little bit specific. Tam even alluded to a question prior to us sitting down and recording this with regards to your dad. I know you have huge respect, huge love for your dad, him carrying his faith and the way that he's led your guys' family. But would you mind just talking in relation to an incident that you could elaborate on with regards to, your hand, what took place with that, and then just that dynamic between you and your father, and then we can talk a little bit more around that, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 5 years old, we grew up on a farm for a season, and every weekend me and my dad would mow the lawn on a ride-on lawnmower. Do you guys call it ride-on lawnmowers in South Africa? Ride-on lawnmower. And one particular day, Dad put me on the front of the mower. As we were mowing the lawn, he turned right and I fell left, and my arm went completely under the mower, and that's why it looks like this right now. It was an interesting moment because Dad would normally put me on in between himself and the steering wheel, but this particular day he decided to put me on the front of it, innocently, thinking I would like it more. And I probably did like it more at that stage until the accident happened. And so I was in and out of hospital from the age of 5 to the age of 12 as they rebuilt my hand. And therefore, obviously, having a hand like this had ripple effects through high school years because of identity and how it looked and being teased, and all that kind of stuff was part of my story, personal story. But I guess your question, Bev, is how did that relate to my father? It's interesting. Often I'd be asked, how do I feel towards my dad based on his mistake? And my easy answer is this: is I've never questioned his love for me, and nor have I ever needed to feel like he has deliberately gone out to hurt me. But I had a moment when I first had Ezra. Ezra was about 4 years old. And I remember putting him on the back of my bike, just on a push bike, and those paper racks, you know, those paper racks. And I remember putting him on the paper rack, and he's like, "Dad, let's go for a ride." And he got on the paper rack and was riding the bike really fast. And then he put his foot down and he put it into the spokes of the wheel. And as a result, the bike came to a screaming stop. Him and I both fell off, and it ripped all the flesh off his leg, and he was left with bone exposing. And I remember having this surreal moment of realizing how my dad would have felt at the moment that the accident happened with me, where you realize I could have avoided this, but and if I had thought through this better, I would have avoided it, but I didn't. And having this crazy conflict within my spirit of like, oh my goodness, this is a small snapshot of guilt, shame, embarrassment, feeling like a fool that my father would have felt as I looked at Ezra with his leg looking like it did. And it was so significant for healing for me to go, wow, like it wasn't necessarily I need to forgive him. I felt like I just needed to identify with him.
Yeah, so good.
And so it's been, as for our relationship, my dad, like you said, Bev, is probably one of my greatest heroes. He talks specifically about him needing to forgive himself, but and I reckon ultimately for many of us who may be watching this right now, it's not about receiving forgiveness from another person. Often it's about the need to forgive yourself. And I believe right now there's people right now listening to this who actually need to hear this. You need to forgive yourself. And what my dad speaks about very specifically was one night he was by my bedside while I was in the hospital, and he was feeling guilt-stricken, shame, embarrassment. And he remembers me and the reason was I was seeing all sorts of snakes and stuff under the bed because of the drugs they had me on. And very specifically, he said, I remember I was crying out to God, and Holy Spirit said to me, Robert, if you don't forgive yourself, you'll stay in this room for the rest of your life. And it was he would talk about the significance of having to let it go and believe that God is sovereign and he'll work all things out for the good of those who love him. And therefore, it was a specific release of him going, I trust you, God, even with my mistake, that you are in control. And I want to say across whoever's listening, that's what God wants to do to you. He wants you to release it. He wants you to open your hand and believe that he is sovereign enough to move regardless of what choices you've made.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Forgiveness is such a powerful thing, and it's absolutely vital in any healthy relationship. So could I ask then, in relation to forgiveness, how are you guys perpetuating that in your family unit? So, within your 6 individuals, there's a whole range of things going on. There's conflict, there's tension, there's mistakes. And then you can even broaden it out to friendship, because we all make mistakes.
I can't remember who told it to us, but I remember someone saying, if you can't ask for your forgiveness from your own kids, then don't expect them to be asking for forgiveness from you. And so right from the beginning with our parenting, with our kids, I've recognized the importance to realize that I am not a perfect dad and I have not got it together. So I would say on a weekly basis, I would go up to one of my kids and ask for their forgiveness for something I've said, something I've done, how I've acted, whether I've ignored them, and created a place, not because I go, this is the perfect parenting thing. No, because I genuinely stuffed up. And teaching them by my own humility, I guess, or my own mistakes, going, oh, can you forgive me? And I would say that's brought a space within the Coyle household to be able to go, you can make a mistake.
Yeah.
And you can ask for forgiveness.
Beautiful.
which has given a lovely space. Now, do we have it right? Do we still scream and yell and do it? Yeah, we muck up still, but we've created a space where we can forgive and ask for it as well.
Thinking you can go from the extremes of having a slow, deep conversation with one of your kids, asking for forgiveness, and at the same time I feel like it's cool to be able to ask Jane how you navigate like the light and shade of it all, because you can mess up, but you are epic at bringing like the fun into your family. You both are. But I reckon you would be epic to be able to answer the question of, it can't all be serious all the time, you know. It can easily move from I'm sorry, okay, forgiveness, and then move into just enjoying each other, because that's the beauty of family. I feel like it's a gift and it's there to be enjoyed, not just processed and how am I going to get it right, and you know, because it's so heavy on ourselves with just everything that we have to do right as parents or as friends or as spouses, and actually it's all there as a gift to be enjoyed.
I reckon one of the best things about the journey with our kids has been slowing down life so that we can actually get to know them. And I think that's what's been definitely awakened in a whole new way this year with the slowdown because of isolation. But I think it's happened over the last 17 years anyway. Slowly for us, it's been a learning curve because of that, like I said before, because of how much we value our kids. We've just made deliberate decisions to go, I actually really want to get to know them. I fully want to get to know them right from an early age, trying to figure out what their little personality is, how they're wired, what makes them laugh, what's fun for them, you know, what's not. And that's been like a major way that we have parented, is really right from tiny baby, but mostly as once they get into kids, is trying to figure out their uniqueness. And then that just gets just brought into a whole new light once they hit teenage years, because they've developed fully into their personality. And the best blessing for us has been that they are really fun humans. And because we've spent all these years figuring out what makes them laugh, their senses of humor, all of that, I feel like we're now reaping the beauty of that with like Ezra and Sarah, who are older and have got just crazy sense of humor, or find some, you know, one of them will find something funny that we do, like I do, like a visual humor. So I just know that if I sit with Ez and I show him these, you know, pictures or whatever, we're just going to laugh at that. Or if I watch a certain show with Sarah, she's going to engage with me in that because she's going to find that fun, because we've actually spent a lot of time figuring out what's fun for them and for us together, if that makes sense.
Do you know another cool thing is learning to let the little kids dictate it. So the classic would be Sonny, who is our youngest.
Yeah.
This has been something I've learned recently. Sonny, who's our youngest, he is the do-it guy. Loves just, he has to have something. So every night we'll sit down and he'll go, guys, I've got an idea. Yeah. And we're all like, yeah. He's like, tonight I reckon we should all get the Uno cards out and play Uno. Or, guys, I've got an idea. We could play the ice cream game tonight. Or he'll just make, and I'm like, what kind of game are you thinking? He'll make up games. And instead of us going, no, let's not, trying to go, okay, Sonny, lead the way, go for it. And usually those kind of moments end up being the most ridiculous, fun-filled moment, which make no sense, but just letting them lead the way, because kids are naturally fun. The older we get, sometimes the more boring we get.
Or just if you get too busy, you can lose the fun, don't you reckon? Just by being busy. And you don't stop to just be in the moment.
But we are deliberate. I know you don't want us just like, there is a deliberateness. On a Monday night, the family night, we deliberately add fun into that. So for the last 5 weeks, we have family games where, like, the last week we pulled out all the Nerf guns, and we had a Nerf gun competitions, and every stage you got through allowed you to get an extra bit of thing on your dessert. So it was like you had to earn your dessert by what you shot with the Nerf gun. That game was actually lame, babe. You're talking about like it was epic. It was awesome, man.
We laughed a lot because it was lame.
Yeah, I've got a question about the Nerf gun. I mean, Jack, you must be at a disadvantage. How do you hold the gun? Man?
cracks these jokes all the time. He's
So Bevan is
Such
the only
inappropriate
friend
gags.
in my life that actually would have a crack at my hand.
Yeah.
Little does he know, I go to see a psychologist to try to deal with his rubbish.
I want to ask you guys about vulnerability, because I genuinely feel in a relationship, in a friendship, vulnerability is one of those key components that actually allows for a depth of friendship or depth of relationship. I would say that you two, both of you, in your own unique ways, but I think you've worked out how to do this together well as well. You have this beautiful way of being vulnerable before people, but also bringing out vulnerability in others. Again, I'll give you an example, and I'm going to speak to a particular story that involves all of us. So for your 40th, James, we went to Bali for a trip, which was probably still one of our best trips that we've ever done. So, we love surfing. 2 of our other mates love surfing. 4 families are together. We're all good friends. We're in this home, villa accommodation in Bali. And on your birthday night, we're sitting around the dinner table. And then Janie says, okay, everybody, we're going to take a moment and everyone is going to say something about Jamie. When I heard that, everything within me kind of closed up, because I did not grow up in an environment where that took place. I don't think even in the friendships that I had up to that point that I would ever have been in a scenario where it was specifically and intentionally called for to say something positive, encouraging, loving about another person. And so we go around the table and everyone is kind of straight into it. There's tears, there's laughter, it's beautiful. And I'm panicking that when it comes to my turn, like, how am I going to do this? Because again, I've got all these kind of insecurities and defenses and everything going on. And so when it gets to my time, because I'm so hilariously funny.
And quite funny also, Bev, that, you were almost like the best man. You were like the best friend. So it was like, save Bev for last.
Yeah. So it built up to me, and I just completely missed the moment because I'm so concerned with myself, and being vulnerable in front of people is a massive thing for me. I know it's that area of life that in all honesty, the reason why I'm asking the question is because I've learned that mostly from you guys in being vulnerable. And so I missed the moment, classic kind of deferral. I use humor. It wasn't even that funny, but, I kind of passed it on. And to this day, I think I've even said it to you guys. I've said it to other people. I regret that moment because I missed it. Okay. So question I have for you, like, where does that come from? So using that example of taking time to say something encouraging about each other, had you guys grown up doing that? Is that just normal to you, being vulnerable?
No, well, I hadn't. I have an epic family, but we never used to sit around a table giving encouraging words to one another. That wasn't something we did. I remember when I met James, going into his home the first few times, there was a couple of things that impacted me massively. The first was how affectionate he was with his mum, always cuddling her, always telling her how beautiful she looked, really adoring her. And that was modelled from his dad, and he has shown that to our kids. So our boys are the exact same way with me. So it's just, his family has got this unique beauty about the way they express love to one another that is unique. And that's just one expression, was just, being affectionate giving honor, to parents. But the other was this: every time they would celebrate something like a birthday, or it was birthdays, not so much Christmas, just birthdays, they literally would just spend time showering encouragement over that person. And I remember the same thing, sitting at the table going, this is next level, epic. Like, how everyone leaves dinner feeling like they're the best person, or the birthday person leaves feeling like they're the best person in the world. And it was just like, yeah, we're going to totally take that up. And we started doing it with all of our friends that we would hang out with. If it was a birthday celebration, then let's just spend the next hour just telling that person how we loved him. And we've just done it. Hey. Yeah.
My dad's background wasn't that. So it was a very significant but that was very intentional from my dad to lead the family in that way, because he'd come from a broken family. He'd come from an environment where it wasn't that at all. He was 10 years older than any sibling under him. And so I remember, like, when you talk to my dad about the why and all that kind of stuff, he was very intentional of not wanting to see what he grew up in, which was, you don't know where you sit with the family, compared to now where he's like, I'm going to be very intentional, knowing that my kids will know where they sit with me. And so he started right from when we were young doing that. I remember even before family or what girlfriends came along and all that, they would often, as a family, at family dinner on a Monday night, like what we do, we're pretty much copying what my parents did. That dad would take moments where he'd go, okay, I want you to write a note to the person next to you and give it to them. Yeah. It was very deliberate. And therefore it has obviously had a lasting impact on me and obviously my sisters. And yeah.
And you do it even outside of birthdays. We'll do it with our kids. Like we just did it on Monday night, just gone. Everyone tell the person on the left what they love about them. It's pretty funny as well. You have a lot of laughs too, because like Sonny will give some ripper answers. Yeah.
I like the way they eat dinner.
I like the way Sarah has done her hair today.
Best. No, but that is actually the best, because you're building a habit of calling out the good in whoever is around you.
The vulnerability part, you talk about how do we go with that? Like, if you're willing to be vulnerable to them, they're going to be vulnerable back to you. And sometimes they say stuff that as a dad you don't want to hear, because they're being honest with how you've made them feel. Yeah. So it's actually gives you a space for, like you say, Bev, that our vulnerability has helped you. I would say their vulnerability has changed me.
Can I just go back to how your kids are essentially learning each other's love languages, which is an amazing tool to have in life generally, for whoever they marry one day, for when they're parents one day, for friendships, whatever, just to learn how another person is wired and not expect them to necessarily be wired the same way that you are, and therefore to love them in a different way than perhaps you would want to be loved, is a great life lesson. Yeah. So now you guys, us knowing you guys, we know that one of you is an introvert and the other one is an extrovert. So you are wired differently. How do you accommodate those differences in each other, so that you bring the best out of each other?
Of all those rummy card games, all those hours together, you could have just at one moment said, hey, Janie, I don't know if you realise this, but you are introverted. Because I didn't know that. I thought I was like him. I've literally spent like 20 years thinking I'm extrovert.
The simple definition that I've heard of late with regards to being introvert, extrovert, is where do you get your energy from? And an extrovert will actually be energized by being with people. An introvert will eventually be drained by being around external stimulus and people, and will need to recharge by being alone. And it's got nothing to do with your love or lack of love towards people, your liking of people. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just understanding that energy.
Yeah, so, well, up until this year, so obviously isolation season, was my massive awakening to I recharge on my own. So I am in a happy space. If I'm in my house, I don't have to go out because I can get a lot of recharge time and then jump on a Zoom and see people, but then I can go off and recharge. And so, but it's been unreal because I would literally, in the 20 years we've been married, because I thought I was an extrovert, and, you know, that was my first thing, was all about people, I would get annoyed at myself all the time because I'd be like, why can't I go just night after night after night hanging out with people like Jamie? So I was constantly comparing myself to the way he can navigate people and life, and feeling like a failure. I had that thought all the time. Why do I crash so easy? Why do I get overwhelmed? Why am I not going at the same pace and the same speed? And so this has been a huge process for me to go, actually, I need space to recharge. That's how I'm wired. That's okay. And to give myself that, it's almost like it's given freedom to go. And for you, it's also given freedom because from that revelation, I've been able to so clearly figure out how to do a week well so that I can give of myself great, not just to family, but to outside people as well, but also have that time to just, recharge and get in a better space. So I literally will say to Jane, even last night it happened, I don't know, about 8 o'clock or whatever, I'm like, he's all, what do you want to do now? I'm like, I don't want to be with you. I just want to go up and read. And in the past, he would be all, in the past, I wouldn't have said that.
I would say, why don't you want this?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, yeah. Totally. I would never have said that in the past because I'd be all, of course we want to be together. So I wouldn't have even thought to say that. But now I feel confident I need to say to him, I need space. And you're like, sure, babe, I get it. That's fine. It's been epic, guys.
Revolutionary.
I wish I'd known it.
No, but it is the best because you can actually spend a lot of your marriage becoming wounded by the way the other person is wired, when probably the wiser thing would be just to understand, and it's not personal.
That's right. That's right.
It's so true, Tam. It's been, and for us to realize that is actually enabled, like Jan said, freedom, but clarity. You're right. It's brought clarity to our relationship. Clarity that Janie's not insulting me. Clarity to how actually I run our household, how I lead our household. In other words, I defend now Janie's personal space rather than get really annoyed that she wants it. Which I reckon in our marriage in the past, I would get annoyed at her. Instead now, I'm learning, no, this shows her that I love her when I defend that for her. And so we've made a whole bunch of changes in the recent times.
This year,
Yeah, specifically to see that happen. And it's been really rich.
Yeah.
Guys, that's amazing. I also used to get super annoyed with Bevan when he wanted to leave a party early, or like, babe, you're being so rude, like so rude. And I would honestly, be dying.
You guys have said it so much now in context of relationships, and I think it's such a cool thing that's come up. You've constantly spoke about understanding, choosing to understand somebody else. And I think in any relational dynamic, from friendships to marriage to parenting, to seek to understand somebody else is probably something that not many people are proactive in doing, but actually is probably one of the best ingredients for a healthy relationship.
Bev, do you want me just to add to that for 2 secs?
Yeah.
That idea, because I think one of your questions you'd flipped to us, what are the 3 things, one of the key 3 things of marriage for us. It's be a learner, which in other words, the same language you are using is learn to understand. And what I've learned is that is a constant thing through your marriage all the way up and probably to the day you die. And the reason is that as you learn about them, they're also learning about themselves. So as they learn about themselves, you're learning something about them. So it's not like you can rock up at the beginning of marriage and goes, I am this. No, because they're still learning about themselves. So therefore the idea of understanding is actually going, this always has to be changing because they're changing as they learn. Therefore, I need to be willing to keep learning. The problem with marriage is we accept them where they get to, and sometimes we don't want them to change anymore, and therefore not willing to keep going on that journey. The emphasis on people, doing life with people, is essential. The way we fall more in love with Jesus is through meeting with other people. The way we get challenged to grow in ourselves is by meeting with other people. The way I see the flaws in myself is through meeting with other people. The way I laugh is by meeting other people. All the great things come from community by being with other people. So I would say that for us, community is essential. And the question is not whether it's right or wrong, it's more whether am I willing to keep engaging in it.
Amen. We love you guys. Thank you so much for
Love
the
you
time.
too.
Miss you.
Yeah, we do miss you.
Yeah, miss you too.
Yeah, and we will chat soon.
Thank you so much for connecting with us and listening to that conversation. I know it was helpful for me. Hopefully it was helpful for you as well. If there was anything that came up in the conversation which you would love to process more, if you've got any questions, we would love to hear from you. Just email us. The best email address is hello@co-church.org. It comes straight through to us, and we'd love to have a conversation. We'd love to get to know you, and we would love to help you in any way we can. Before I bring this talk to a close, I can't leave this session without inviting you into the greatest relationship in existence. We're talking about healthy relationships. And from my perspective and everything of what I've experienced, I would know that healthy human relationships come from a place of having a healthy relationship with the creator of life himself. Our God is real, he is alive, and he loves you. And we believe that we come into relationship with God by choosing to put our trust, our faith in Jesus Christ. Jesus is the visible image of the invisible God. He is God in the flesh, somebody who walked the earth, lived out this human dynamic, but went to a cross, was sacrificed on our behalf, where this beautiful, great exchange took place, where his life was surrendered so we could take up life and have real life. And coming into this relationship with God by way of following Jesus, we receive forgiveness, that forgiveness that we spoke about with Jamie and Janie, that is so significant. Not only do we receive forgiveness, but there is brand new life, and there is now a sustaining relationship with God. And it's simple. It comes through just making a decision in your heart. I can't see you on the other side of the screen, but I know that God sees you, and he loves you. And he wants nothing more than to have a relationship with you. Authentic, real, raw, in all of your mess. He loves you and he wants you to be close. So all I'm going to do is just say a prayer. It's just me giving you some words to help you articulate a decision that hopefully you are making in your heart. Because that's what God sees. He sees your heart. So these words that I'm going to say, I'm just going to ask you to echo them. If you want to say them out loud, by all means, say them out loud. But it's from this conscious choosing to believe that you will be saved, forgiven, given a brand new start, and now brought into a relationship with God. So just say these words or echo these words after me. Jesus, today I make a decision to surrender my life to you. I believe that you are the Son of God, that through you I have forgiveness and brand new life. I want you to be Lord of my life. And I ask that you would help me to live in a relationship with God from today for the rest of my days. In Jesus' name. If you did make that decision, could I ask you to be bold, courageous, and please get in touch with us. If you are watching this in our interactive session, you can let us know right now on this platform that you prayed that prayer, because we would love to help you. We'd even love to get a gift to you. But if you're watching this at some other point, maybe on YouTube or on social media, and you know you've made that decision, again, we would love to hear from you. So just reach out, get in touch with us via email, and then we can start the process to help you with what's next. You have made the best decision in your life. And the cool thing is that all of heaven is celebrating your decision. So thanks again to everybody for staying connected. We love that we have this opportunity to speak into something that we value, which is healthy relationships. Stay tuned for more talks coming up very soon. And I'm hoping that I'm going to see some of you on our live Q&A. Let's go there. Instagram, Facebook, make sure you follow along, and we'll see you soon.
Bev, are you recording this now? Are we? We're like all on now.
Yeah, it's done. And we're streaming to the world. We've got like 1 million people watching right now.
Yeah, live.
Yeah, it's awesome. I
Thank
love
Only
live.
1 million.
Okay, should we get started?
Yeah.
No way we're going to be able to get through this.
Are you happy with this shot, what you've got here, bro? Like how close you are? Do you want us more further apart?
No, I think you guys look amazing.
Great.
Okay, so you're ready. So I'm going to just go from this point. Is that cool?
Yeah, do it.
Go, bro. You're on, man. You're on.
Oh, you have to book a seat. Like you bushfire, you know, the bushfire is it?
Brush fire. Brush fire.
Brush. Guys,
Fire!
the brush fire. You're so
I don't
funny.
know how we're going to do this without losing our crap.
Because I'm trying to just,
Okay, I'm going to start.
we might
Yeah.
get better.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You keep it in.
Okay, I've got such a husky voice right now. I
I
don't
know,
know what's
you're
going
sounding
on.
like Barry White.
I'm quite sexy. I'm trying to not talk until.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, carry on.
I found the files for falling in love in the old-fashioned way, where one commits or once in a lifetime. Don't give up now. And I want to know why we can't move on like anyone. I can understand. We don't trust no one else.